Hello, this is Heather Connor, and this is my Week 13 weekly summary for Physics 112. It's coming a little later in the week than I would have liked, simply because last week's discussion board posting category didn't get posted until Sunday, and I was out of state for a contract job. So I saw it on Sunday and decided I would get to it as soon as I got back into town. So the week started with me doing some more, well, let me back up. Actually, what happened is we were given a schedule by David about the rest of the semester and how things were going to go. And we were asked to, for the week of the 13th week, we were supposed to work on Project 4, learn about quantum, atomic, and nuclear physics, finish with our initial controversial debate topics, week 13 neat resource and weekly summary, which I'm doing right now, and make some contributions to the Digital Nation discussion. So what I first did for the week was do the Digital Nation discussion. I watched several more of the chapters 3 through 6 and then posted on each of those, and then I plan to finish that today for week 14. But you can see that I've watched the Korea's Gaming Craze, I watched Teaching with Technology, The Dumbest Generation, and Relationships, and this week I'm going to do Virtual Worlds, Virtual Experiences Change Us, and Where Are We Headed. So I posted on those. I'll watch the rest this week. On Sunday, David posted the forum for the week 13 neat resource, and I posted a minute physics video that talked about where quantum physics originated. I thought there were some good examples, real world examples that made things a little bit simpler for me to understand. In addition to that, throughout today, I've responded to all the other neat resources that have been posted. Brian and I are working on Project 4 together, and he posted our topic. We are going to be doing satellite power cells, and we should have the rest of our research and materials ready so that Brian can put the final Prezi together for us for the due date that's due this Sunday at midnight, not today, but next Sunday at midnight. So that's Project 4. I also completed all my postings for the controversial debate topics. I ended up responding pro and con to each one of those, all 16 topics, and I plan to begin the responses to other people's topics tonight and a little bit more throughout the rest of the week. I know to get an A, you have to respond to all of them, so that's going to be an undertaking in and of itself. So this week was mostly about quantum and nuclear physics, and some of the neat resources really helped me understand more about these topics, although I have to be honest that these are definitely somewhat over my head, and I find some of the topics very theoretical in nature and almost delving more into the philosophical topics than scientific ones. I have a little difficulty overall visualizing things in my head, and there's a lot of assumptions that are made about the quantum world that I have difficulty wrapping my head around. I will say that some of the neat resources definitely helped. I appreciated one of the websites that were posted that really had a lot of interaction and it helped break things down. Shauna also posted a great website that talked about the 5 main ideas represented in quantum theory, how energy is not continuous but comes in small and discrete units. The elementary particles behave both like particles and like waves, and a lot of the other neat resources talked about the hole and slit experiments and how if you fire electrons at the slit, you would expect that they behave like a photon of light would as a particle, but that the results after our electrons have gone through the slits actually shows more wave-like behavior. But when we try to measure and observe this action, excuse me for just a quick moment. Sorry about that break. I had a phone call that I wasn't expecting, and I didn't want that to interfere with my video. So we were talking about how observing the electrons being fired at the slits actually changed their behavior from a wave to a particle. And it almost makes me think that in some ways the scientists that have observed these things are claiming that there's some self-awareness to these elementary particles, and that's very interesting. I don't know if that would mean that there's an intelligence behind them, or if it's a matter of us interpreting things in such a way that makes it seem as if there's a self-awareness. So there's a lot of philosophical portions of these debates that surprised me, especially because you think of science as being very concrete. One of the videos talked about how gravity isn't a real force and mass is a byproduct of time dilation, and that time is basically a continuous energy exchange. I found that a little bit over my head, but I'm hoping to understand a little bit more. I appreciated the descriptions of nuclear fission, which is breaking apart of nuclei using neutrons, and how it's a chain reaction and how mass is converted into energy. That is what occurs at nuclear energy facilities, and I think that's the most direct way in which I can apply nuclear physics to my life. I've lived in San Diego for a majority of my life, from the time I was born until I was 20, 22, 24. Well, at least in Southern California, I was there until I was 24 before I moved here. And we have San Onofre that provided a good deal of electricity for the region. It's currently shut down because of safety issues, which shows some of the negative aspects of nuclear reactions and the dangers inherent therein, but certainly provided a lot of energy. Some of the videos showed how it's more clean and is responsible for less greenhouse gas emissions than other more traditional forms of energy, and how much energy is created by these by the nuclear fission. There was another video that talked about nuclear fusion, which is very different than nuclear fission. It actually involves the fusing of two elements together to form a different element. The examples they gave were taking two hydrogen nuclei, fusing them together to create a helium atom. And it talked about why there was so much pressure and temperature needed in order to do that. Also discussed how much energy is just how much energy the sun is responsible for and how much it creates every second, which was this massive amount of energy. I did do notes in my notebook for the week. Let me show you a little bit of that just to show that I'm doing it. So this is week 13's notes. Most of it is the Digital Nation resource notes, and I'll have notes for week 14 as needed, and on project 4 as needed. So that's it for the week. I did notice right before I started this that for week 14 that we don't have a weekly summary, but we're going to begin having a semester-long reflection, and we're going to have an assignment related to that. So that's it for my week 13 weekly summary. See you next time.